why do you need to create? And why is it so important to your personal development, to your space in the world, to all the things that help you to understand you as a person and self-actualize and grow into the person that you're meant to be? These are pretty deep questions, and hopefully we'll unpack some of that today in this video. I'm Rowley, and I am a creative guide that helps people who are particularly frustrated with their work and their jobs and not feeling fully actualized. Specifically if you're working in corporate or tech, and you have this dream or this vision to be able to spend time creating, getting back to the things that you're passionate about. Maybe it's something you did when you were a kid or when you were growing up, or something you did before life got really busy. So that could be writing. It could be dance, movement of some sort. It could be that you're a photographer, a videographer, you're a musician. Any of those things that you've done in the past, and through the busyness of life, you've missed that opportunity and you'd love to get back to it. I help people both with short-term fixes, and one of those is going to be linked in the description, and it's just for sign up with your email and I'll send you a digital detox that'll help you put your phone down, get away from the screens and make some space in your diary, all the way through to helping people with long-term fixes, like taking them through their project. So if they want to write a book, finish that screenplay, if they want to put out an album, or they want to take their art or their photography, produce it fully and get it in an exhibition. So that's the sort of long-term, helping people to move to those places where they actually have something to show for their work and kind of put it out into the world. But why is it so important for us to develop, and why do so many people I talk to are kind of like, oh, well, either kids have come along or they've gotten busy, they're having to look after their house, get out into the garden, do the lawn and laundry, as well as still doing a full-time job. And all of those things are big and, important, but also there's a point of which, it becomes really essential for us to get back to something creative, some sort of spontaneous expression of themselves. And I want to touch on why that's so important. Now, today I'm going to be using a framework that you've probably heard bandied around before, and it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And this is a term that Maslow developed last century, and it's gotten a lot of traction. A lot of psychologists, a lot of kind of people who think about how we are put together. A lot of people much smarter than me have used. With the pyramid, and the reason it's a hierarchy is, they all sit on top of each other. And I think in this version where it's a pyramid, I think it's easy to see how the physiological and then safety ones are there. And I would expect that most people watching this video aren't, if you've got a phone or you've got a computer, you've probably got Wi-Fi, you've probably got a level of, resources and employment and a family, and, you're not dealing with those things. Now, I can't guarantee that on the next level of that love and belonging that you have friendship, family, or sexual intimacy. But, and maybe you're looking and craving for things. Maybe those things aren't exactly where you want them to be. And I kind of think in our transient world where we don't all kind of live in community with our family, and friendships seem to be getting harder and harder to maintain, and particularly as we get older, people move away, friendships slip and slide. It's harder to make friends and break into new social circles and build those up. I've definitely found that returning from another country. When we moved from London back to Dublin, lots of my friends had full lives and they didn't have space for Rowley, and that's okay. But also I found dear friends, and I also figured out that I don't have as much time for lots of friends, and I'd much rather have some close, dear friends than lots of friends who don't bother checking in on me or, don't have time. So I'm okay with that. But that, I also understand that's how the world changes and how we expand and grow. But this pyramid, I have a slight problem with it, because it's just that idea that these blocks build on top of each other and you can't get to the top. And those ideas at the top for self-actualization, like of morality and creativity, spontaneity, problem solving, lack of prejudice, acceptance of fact, all of those things they're beautiful, but there's other points at which you kind of need them and need to develop into them. And I much prefer the view of this graph, where you're able to see that as these things develop, you're able to move with more clarity into the other areas. Now, none of them ever disappear. There's still a need for those physiological and safety levels there. But as we develop, as we move on, as we grow physically, mentally, spiritually, we're able to move into different spaces, and those things become more useful and foundational, but they're not always there. I think this graph is much more helpful, and it's really easy to see that by the time we get to a point in our lives, and I know from looking at the people who watch this video, most of you are over 30, all the way up to in your 60s. And by the time we're in that stage of life, we've gotten through university, we're in jobs, we have money getting into our bank account, we have somewhere to live, potentially we've got a partner, we've got friendships, and those things are taken care of. And in our work, we're finding a level of acceptance, we're finding a level of self-esteem, and we're moving into that area of kind of self-actualization. And I think some of that can come from our work, and hopefully if you've lined up your internal values with your work, then you're getting to a place where the work that you do validates who you are, and it serves the world and it serves the people that you work for, and you're able to come to that place. But the people that I work with are starting to figure out that there's a disconnect between the work that they do, kind of 40 hours a week or more, doesn't necessarily line up with that self-actualization, and particularly around the area of creativity. And that's why I'm here, just to say that's okay, but it's great that you're realizing it and that you're here watching this video and trying to figure out, well, what can I do? Okay. So the first thing I said earlier is get away from your screens, get away from other people stealing your time and your attention. And if you've watched any of my videos, you know that I talk about this a lot. Because we're living in a world that is so distracted and sometimes so tense, and we're living in like a scarcity of, we're living in flight or fight mode, we're constantly being triggered, we're like running like on caffeine, lack of sleep. That's why kind of getting back to those ideas of rest is just building up these foundational areas so that we can be ready to create, to grow, to move on to the next area. So there's some of just foundational things that you can start to work on right now. But then I also kind of really wanted to share this idea around Maslow's hierarchy, because it's fundamentally part of who we're meant to be. We're meant to be creative. We're meant to be thinking bigger things. We're meant to figure out ways in which we can serve the world and serve the community with the skill sets that we've been given. And if you're here and you're watching this and you are creative and you know you're creative, but also I really believe at this time, with all of the craziness that we see on our TV, on our social media, out there, that we need people to be creative, to be living to the full of their potential, and stepping into that, allowing space for that to happen, allowing space to create, space to self-actualize, space to develop new ideas, new thoughts, new concepts, because I fundamentally believe in the potential of humanity. And yes, there's this tension between AI and humanity and where we're going, but if we're not walking around with our eyes open and really thinking about how we interact, how we engage with that, and how we move on, I think we might have a problem. But I do believe that as humans, we have the potential and the creativity to solve those problems. So I just want to put it out there for you to step away from your screen, step away from your distractions, and put the work in. Put the work in to show up for yourself, show up for, the generations that we're raising, and show up for a future of your life, your own future, but also in the same time as you're showing up for that, you're showing up for the rest of your community and your wider community of humans. We need you to self-actualize, to level up, and kind of get to the next place so that we can all stand together and all figure out how we're moving forward. Now that might all seem like a lot, and maybe you feel like you're out of your depth, but please feel free to kind of post in a comment where you're at, what you're working on, where you're trying to get to. But also, if you sign up for my email list below, hit reply. Tell me how you're getting on. Tell me what you're working on. Tell me what's important to you and where you're trying to get to. I'd love to hear about that. Okay. Whether or not we ever work together, I just think that it's important for you to take these steps and to move forward and to find someone to be accountable to find people to collaborate and to find a community to knit into, and have your needs around self-esteem and support and connection all there for you so that you can get creative. You can get these ideas out there. You can get over maybe hurts you've had in the past for family members or teachers telling you that your art or your practice, whatever that creativity is not worthwhile. Okay, thanks for sticking with this one. Right here, YouTube will suggest another video for you here. And if you need more of Rowley's creative insights, take a watch of that. But make time to get creative and put it out there into the world. Okay, you take care. Bye now.